We are live. Welcome. This is Fave at 5. I am Karen Ray. And today we are doing something really unique. We are out in Margie's garden. And I know a lot of the ladies who are, we're all housebound, but we all, a lot of people have yards. And I know a lot of women are out gardening. And they're wondering, what do we plant? How do we do it? And Margie is a master gardener. She's a friend of mine. So I asked her to come on and just give us some tips and take us around her garden. Hi, Margie.
Hi.
Hi. Well, welcome to Fave Lifestyles and Fave at 5.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about gardening.
Yes.
So now's the time, or even a month ago, to plant vegetables.
Yes. So we're going to be talking about vegetables. Yeah, because you have quite the vegetable garden there, it looks like.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to see if I can show it to you. I've got some beds here, and I've got some things planted and some things I'm not going to plant yet because it's not time. And I've got strawberries.
Oh, excellent. So let's start talking about what we should be planting right now. What are the good things and kind of maybe some tips about it?
Okay, well, yeah, it's not too late to plant some early spring vegetables. You can be planting peas, spinach, lettuce, carrots. You could be planting green onions, and basically those are and potatoes. And you can be doing that right now or even back into March, but it's not too late right now. And my strawberries are here from last year, and they'll just keep producing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's pretty much the vegetables right now. I mean, there's probably more, but that I'm doing are the peas, the carrots, lettuce, spinach, green onions. Yeah.
So I used to have a raised bed garden, and I really loved growing some vegetables. So I always had a really hard time getting my carrots to grow. And do you have to have really deep dirt, or what's the trick there on growing carrots?
There is a trick.
Oh, okay.
I actually used to have a hard time with that too. You want soil that is not rocky at all. You want loose, loamy soil. And yes, you want to make sure it's deep enough. The trick is when they're about 2 inches tall, you have to start, taking some of them out and making sure they're well spaced. You have to start thinning. And otherwise they won't have the space to grow. So that's the trick.
Okay. Yeah, because I love fresh grown carrots. I mean, and we were talking about this before too. Growing vegetables in your garden is like a treat. I'm not a huge vegetable person, but when they're fresh, oh my gosh, tomatoes are like eating candy. They're so sweet.
Oh, I know.
The carrots, once you have fresh carrots from your garden and you go eat one from the grocery store, not even the same.
I spoiled my kids, unfortunately, growing up, because they knew if it was canned or fresh beans from the store versus the fresh beans from my garden. And they were like, "Oh, we want your beans." And I'm like, "Well, it's in the middle of winter." And then my granddaughter
doesn't work that way.
It does. And my granddaughter eats tomatoes like they're candy. So.
Oh, yeah, I know they are. They're just really so good. So good.
Yeah.
So you are growing, you were showing, so you have a raised bed garden, and you also are growing some things in some containers. So what are the things that you are growing in your containers?
Right now I am growing potatoes in my wheelbarrow because it's big enough and it has holes in it. So I thought, what can I do with that? And then,
wow.
Yeah, starting in probably mid to later May, I will plant my tomato plants in their containers. I've always done that, and I've always had really good luck. And same with peppers. They need like special attention. So mine always do really well in the pots, and they're big pots. And I have a tomato cage and everything. So.
Oh, so I have never grown tomatoes in a pot because I always had, it seemed like they always got really big.
They do.
So how does that work when they get really
Okay. It
big
depends.
and you have them in a pot?
Well, okay. So I only do Romas and cherry, just the smaller ones. I don't do big beefsteak
Okay.
tomatoes. I'm not really a fan of them anyway. So I have pretty big pots, but my tomato cages are also big. But there's two different types of tomatoes you can get. They're called determinate and indeterminate. And determinate are the ones that actually will reach a certain height and stop. Indeterminate keep growing and growing and growing, and it's up to you if you want to keep letting them grow. Otherwise, you want to pinch it off so it doesn't get too tall.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Yeah, had no idea you could grow them like that. Okay, so
Yeah.
what I have heard this recently about people wanting to start their gardens, and they said, well, oh, the bunnies get everything. So how do you keep the bunnies from getting all of your vegetables? Because I know they don't like, my bunnies didn't like tomatoes, but they liked everything else, the peppers, everything.
Lettuce, yeah. Um,
Yep.
well, get a terrier. That's a problem with rabbits. I don't know what it is. I have to think it's our dog. We don't have anything eating any of our plants or vegetables, and we are out you know,
In the
in the
woods.
in the woods. And so I think a lot of it is our terrier. Plus, there are some things you can do to prevent some of those. I don't know if they're myths or what. I mean, there's sprays you can do. There's for deer, there's coyote urine if you can find it on the internet. You can
Oh,
have
really?
your husband go back there and do what he needs to do. Uh, but as far as rabbits, that's really tricky. I had that problem in my last house, and human hair is something. If you brush your hair, you can. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different ideas. I think it's tricky. I think the main thing is caging and fencing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
that's
my
what I
goodness.
think. So I'm
So
very lucky.
yeah. So tell me this, because I never knew, like each year as you plant your garden, should you have certain type of dirt? You need to add some nutrients to the dirt, or how do you kind of begin?
Okay. Well, it's soil.
Soil, the
Soil.
soil.
Yeah. Definitely compost. You would just start with I don't know how much soil we put in our garden, but you want to fill it up at least 6 to 10 or 12 inches, probably 12 inches of soil. And then you want to you want to amend it with compost. That's the best
Oh,
thing. I am a natural gardener. I only do organic. So, but there's fertilizer out there that you can use that is basically just compost, and that's what helps your vegetables grow. And you just basically need to water, good soil, and really good sun.
yes. So that's the other thing too. The first year that I planted, and especially the things that really needed full sun, like my tomatoes,
Yeah.
come August, the sun here, towards the late afternoon, didn't get that enough sun, so they'd start to wilt and die. So
Yep.
I guess that's probably one thing if you're planting your garden, to make sure that you're thinking about what it's going to be like in August.
Yeah, it has to face south and or southwest. And then your tomatoes and peppers especially need probably 6 to 8 hours. My garden probably gets at least 6. So yeah, sun is a big deal. There's some things that are, a little bit more forgiving, like lettuce or spinach. As a matter of fact, they don't do really well in the heat of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Green beans, just I don't want to jump ahead, but in May usually is when I'll plant my green beans and cucumbers, and they need a lot of sun as well, and
Oh,
heat.
okay.
Warm soil is the kind of the key.
Okay, so so let's move on. So let's talk about what you plant next. And then also, I'm curious about, like, are there certain things in your planting so they don't grow and shade each other, or is there any order to it at all? I don't know.
Um, I suppose, I mean, it's okay if your lettuce and spinach has a little bit of shade, maybe even your carrots. It's not a big deal, but mostly you want everything to have some exposure to sun. So you might want your taller growing, if it has a trellis, then you kind of want your trellis in the back of the garden because you don't want the whole trellis to be blocking things. That's another reason I do my tomatoes in pots, because I put them against the house and they grow and grow and they're not blocking anything.
Oh,
So that's,
okay.
yeah, you want to make sure that's happening, that it's not blocking. So,
Excellent.
mhm.
So tell us what do you plant in May?
So in May, I will be doing I have a teepee and I have climbing green beans, purple beans, yellow beans, and they'll climb the trellis, the teepee. I don't have it out yet. And then I also like cucumbers, so I'll be planting those again
Oh,
in the bed. And then the peppers and tomatoes will be later, probably later in May. And for those, I always get transplants. I probably should back up a little bit. Everything I put in here is seed. I always plant
oh,
seeds except for my potatoes. They're called, they're just potatoes that you buy from the um, co-op or something, and they have to have sprouts or eyes
okay.
on them. But otherwise, I do only tomato starts and peppers. I don't have a greenhouse, so I really have to have starts for those.
Oh, okay. So is
Mm-hmm.
there a particular place that you get those starts that you recommend that
Yeah,
are healthy?
I'm very sad because our
I
Master
know.
Gardener plant sale, Snohomish County Master Gardener plant sale, was May 2nd, but that is canceled. So that's where I always get my starts. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not really, I don't know if I'm telling people to do this or not. I'll either go to Mulbach's or McClendon's or something.
Mhm.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. So we do have a question. I can actually see hi, Deborah and Shannon and Kathy and Barbara and Janine. We have lots of ladies joining us today.
Oh, good.
We have a question about, let's talk about herbs.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yay.
how do you grow herbs? Because those are so nice. You get all those smells. You get to use them in
Oh,
your cooking.
yep.
So, I know really nothing about herbs. So,
Oh, that's
yeah.
okay. So, I have some that I have in boxes that I kind of put against the house during the winter that will stay all year. I mean, they're not growing during the winter, but I don't have to replant them, and that's thyme, oregano. I have parsley. So those ones are pretty forgiving. Basil is one that is pretty much summertime, unless you have this incredible kitchen with an incredible window and a lot of sun, then you might be able to just have it inside your house all winter. But the basil plants, I usually get those. I try to look for really healthy ones, and they're pretty good all summer long, the starts. I don't usually do any, I haven't really, I don't have any herbs that I really start from seed. I suppose you could, but it just seems like they have kind of a shorter growing season here in Washington.
Hmm.
So I usually just get starts. So,
Okay. So do you keep those when you grow them? Do you grow those in little containers or
yeah,
are they part of, oh, you do. Okay. And
I
so
do.
then can you
You
grow
don't
them
have
all
to.
together?
I have my basil separate because I have 2 or 3 basil plants, and we use a lot of basil in cooking. And so, but my oregano, my thyme, marjoram, those ones there in 2 beds where I they just stay all year long, and I have them right here.
Okay. Oh, good. We get to take a look around your garden.
So these are just my little beds that I have, and they're just, you know, they're just growing and growing. And I forgot to mention sage. And then my parsley is in this container, which it just stays all year round. I don't know if you can see it. That's my artichoke. I have to remember that my garden's backwards. So there's my
Yeah.
parsley, and
Oh,
just a little tidbit. Flat parsley tastes better. That's what you want. Curly parsley is for looks.
oh, okay. That is a good tip.
Yeah. So yeah, it's herbs are fun. I love using them in cooking. I basically put them in paper bags at the end of the season under the counter. in the dark, and I have had some of my herbs for years.
Oh, wow. So paper bags in a dark space.
Yeah, I know
Wow.
people
I
do
had no
different
idea.
things, but yeah, I don't, there's other ways to do it, but that's worked for me. And rosemary.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wow.
So my rosemary is out in the yard, which is scary because if we get a really bad freeze, I won't have it anymore. But here's it, and it's very happy this year. So there it is,
Oh,
planted in the
oh,
ground,
wow. I bet that smells
finally.
really good.
Oh, it does. It's wonderful. I love
Excellent.
rosemary. Yeah.
So, so Margie, so your herbs, did I hear that you don't have to replant them each year? Will they continue to grow, or do you have to replant them?
The ones that are in
Do you have to put new starts in
the
every year, or
the only ones I have to do that are for me it's basil because that dies, and then my sage has a little
okay.
bit of a hard time, but you don't really have to do that either. If you can have a nice warm semi-warm location in a a garden shed or next to your house, they might be okay. They look dead, but then those ones I just showed you, they lasted all year, and now they're green again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so here's a question for you. I now live in an apartment, and
Okay.
I would love to have a few things growing out on my deck. Are there a few things that you could suggest? So it actually is a metal deck, and it's facing the south. So and it
Perfect.
gets very hot on that metal deck during the day.
Okay.
What would you suggest growing?
You know what? Grow what you're going to eat first of all, as far as vegetables, because
Okay.
sometimes we get a little carried away. Oh, that looks pretty, and then nobody eats it in your
Yes.
family. You can
Right.
grow beautiful flowers in pots, or if depending upon what vegetables you like, you can grow almost anything in pots except for maybe a pumpkin because they spread around so much. But you can grow a lot of things in pots. You can make a beautiful array of like a lettuce pot and different little lettuces in it, and just pick it off and eat it, and it keeps growing. So you can do a lot with it with a deck, believe it or not. There's also vertical gardening, which I don't know how high your lanai is, but
Mm-hmm.
you can also have a little bit of a trellis, and
Oh.
so there are things you can do, definitely.
Wow. I'm going to have to research that a little bit. That would be
Yeah.
fun to have a little trellis with little herbs or different things growing. Yes.
Yes, it's a
So
fun hobby.
I had another question. Oh my gosh. And I think I lost it. We were talking about gardening in our deck. Okay. It came and it went.
Oh, that's okay. Gardening in the deck.
Gardening in the deck. Okay. Well, my thought left me. So any other tips that you want to leave us with before we sign off?
Yeah, I would, if you want a beautiful garden in the spring, I mean, there's always planting bulbs in the fall, and that seems so tedious a task in the fall, but boy, you reap the constant, it totally looks gorgeous. I have some in the front, but not a lot because last year I was working. So, and as far as flowers and everything, just make sure you get the flowers that go with each, time period. Some people, I think,
Mm.
went crazy in April and bought a ton of stuff, and then our weather was abnormally warm. So I didn't go out and buy anything because I knew, hey, it's still going to go down in the 40s at night. So I'm just, using a caution here as far as putting things out that may not look so good come summertime.
Oh, that's good to know because I have heard that Home Depot, even though we're at stay-at-home mode, that Home Depot has lines around it because everybody's going
Yeah.
and buying plants. So some of those plants you should probably hold off on planting.
Yeah, if you just don't want them to look so ragged in the summer. And I know too, a lot of people are in those lines to do landscaping, spring's an awesome time to do that and to take good care of your lawn. So that I do recommend doing right now if you want to put seed down or fertilizer or aerate or something.
Okay. So since we're kind of talking about some other things, is it also a good time to, oh, whoops, we're getting some sounds. What's an airplane?
That's shocking. I don't
To,
see airplanes anymore.
so is it also a good time to be trimming your trees, or when is the best time for that?
Yeah, you can do that in the spring. We actually did that. We have some beautiful cherry blossoms, and they were getting out of control. And so we went ahead and trimmed those. If you're dying to have your tree completely full of blooms, then don't touch it until the fall. But we went ahead because they were out of control. But I'm sort of like, if you don't like what I'm doing to you now, yard, then that's too bad. And hopefully it'll come back tomorrow. I'm kind of that type of a person. But anyway, so we went ahead and cut them, and I thought, okay, I don't know if they're going to bloom, and I think you can see that they did.
Oh, yeah.
So those are my cherry blossoms. There's a bunch of white ones, and I know you can see those also in your neighborhoods or the University
Right.
of Washington, and so it didn't hurt them to do that. Now there's a lot of things that you can trim right now that if it's scraggly or if it's dead wood, that never's going to hurt. You can always get rid of dead wood. So that's not a problem at all. But fall and spring are good times. In the spring, you just want to be careful you don't cut off the blossoms or the blooms.
Okay, good tips. Wow, we learned all kinds of things today. Well, thanks for taking us around your beautiful garden and talking about how to grow vegetables and what we should be planting now and holding off on
Yeah,
until May. So, Margie, thanks for coming and visiting with us
you're so
at
welcome.
Favorite 5.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
righty, we'll see you next
Have a
time.
good year.
Bye-bye.
Bye.